Hey, what's up GITV? My name is Tim and I am here to introduce yet another challenge. We've been doing a lot of product challenges recently, the G3 challenge, the LCCCCC, and we have another one here, although there's only, it really incorporates one person, which is Marq. What we did is we gave Marq an FMG4A3 and $300 to tune the internals however he wanted. No external tuning, only gearbox stuff. We all know that Marq is a fantastic tech and he likes building slow speed guns. So let's break down what Marq did with this FMG4A3. Alright, to kick things off with Marq's slow speed build, he installed a Siegetek dual sector gear because we all know that dual sector gears are the key to slow speed guns. We also have installed a Bravo aluminum piston head. By the way, it is pronounced aluminium or aluminum, just depends on what you prefer. There is no right or wrong there. We also have installed a modified quantum piston and modified cylinder Type 1. Now the cylinder is a key component with this build, not because of how it really improves the gun's performance, because it doesn't really do that significantly, but that's the key component that lets us know that this gearbox is Tokyo Marine parts compatible. As we all know, TM set the standard for gearbox dimensions back in the day, and this means that this gun is going to be compatible with most TM upgrade parts, which is most of the parts out there on the market. So you don't necessarily have to use Marq's list to build your FMG4, but you'll know that it's compatible with most stuff that you do choose. Marq has also installed a Bravo cylinder head, probably to improve the compression inside the cylinder. Also installed on this gearbox is a Garter SP150 spring. Now, SP150 springs are normally used for high FPS guns, like 500 plus FPS guns, but you need a really stiff spring for a slow speed build that uses a dual sector gear because, remember, it's only half the cycle. Another thing that helped Marq achieve his slow speed build was to reduce the amount of resistance the electricity faces when running through the gun, which is why he installed Magic Box high conductivity wires. He also connected Dean's connectors to those, or modified ultra plugs as they're called, and he also used modified motor connectors to help reduce that resistance. Now, building a gun is much more than just slapping a bunch of parts together. There's a lot of fine-tuning and fitting that a good tech like Marq does to make sure that everything meshes together really well. So let's bring Marq in and find out exactly what he did to this gearbox. Alright, I have brought in the man, the myth, the Marq. He's the one that teched the gun. And obviously teching a gun is a little bit more than just slapping a bunch of parts together, closing the gearbox and calling it a day. So Marq, tell me what you did to this gun specifically. You mentioned that you polished the rails on the gearbox. Why did you do that and why is it beneficial to the gun?
Alright Tim, the reason I polished the rails on the gearbox is to reduce the friction on the piston, therefore increasing the piston life.
Okay, so it moves easier with less friction, obviously. That's pretty standard stuff. You also polished the surface of the bushings where the shims meet up. Now, I didn't know that those surfaces were rough. Are they rough?
Yes, you may not be able to see it until you use a magnification tool. There are small like beads protruding from the bushing, so if you polish it, it'll allow a smoother surface for the bushing,
the shim and the gear to move, right?
Yes.
Okay, so other than polishing those parts, have you done anything else to the gun, or that pretty much cover it?
Pretty much it.
What about outside of the gearbox? Anything fancy with the hop up, the barrel, anything like that?
Okay, outside the gearbox shell, actually, there's the part with the tappet plate, the selector plate. I polished the rails on those so it's also friction free. Therefore, you always have a consistent cycle when you switch
when you select between semi-safe and full auto.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've definitely done a lot of polishing to reduce friction. Obviously, moving parts, when friction is injected into that, creates a lot of heat. That's also going to be reduced within the gearbox as well. Something I didn't mention in your parts list is the motor you used, and that's because you are the motor aficionado here at Airsoft GI. So tell us a little bit about the motor, and then we'll segue into the performance of the gun.
Okay. The motor I decided to put in this gun is a Teinly GT40000 motor. This is their balanced motor set.
So it's both high torque and high speed.
Correct. You'll get the trigger response on a high torque motor, but you also get the speed from a high speed motor. but therefore you will also be able to pull springs back such as an M120 or M130 at an easier pace.
Okay, that's what you're going to need because you have an M150 or SP150 installed in here. So, with the Teinly motor and all of your awesome modifications, what does this gun perform at rate of fire and FPS?
The velocity output is between 320 and 330 feet per second, about mid to high 20 beats per second.
That's with a .20 gram BB?
Yes, sir. Reason being is, for those of you that place in Southern California, the indoor fields such as Tax City, they have a rate of fire limit at 30. So therefore, this gun can be used at that field.
So you could have pushed the envelope to get the rate of fire much higher, but you really tailor-made this for the SoCal specific
Precisely.
demographic, I guess you could say. Not to say that this wouldn't work for other fields, but that's what you had in mind. So can we shoot it?
Absolutely.
What kind of battery is installed on here?
This is a 7.4 volt, 1200 milliamp, 20C LiPo battery.
Okay, now should we use an 11.1 with this, or should we stick with the 7.4?
I would not recommend 11.1 due to the motor and the gear combination. It will spin, it will rotate too quickly, therefore stripping your gears.
Okay, so let's dry fire to see what this thing's doing. Sounds pretty awesome to me. That is pretty quick, Marq. Okay, so obviously this is the FMG4A3, which I believe is on a website for just about 250 bucks. You've put a lot of money and parts into this. Do you know what we're gonna sell it for?
I do not at the moment, but
Frank is gonna tell us, right?
Frank will let us know when time comes.
Okay, so this is Marq's custom-tuned FMG4A3. It is going to be on our website at Airsoft GI very soon. Stay tuned to GI TV and stay tuned to Airsoft GI for an update on this gun if you're interested in purchasing it. Marq, thanks for joining us on GI TV. Audience, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time for our next episode.